mom does.
My best advice is to marry someone named Melba.
Well, there's not very many Melbas anymore. So
Then your chances are slim and none.
Yeah.
When did you become Melba's husband?
At school. I went to the school to, I was looking for someone, and I went up to the principal and I said, "Hi, I'm looking for something. My wife's there." And he goes, "Oh, you're Melba's husband."
And I never believed it until one day I actually heard somebody say, "Oh, you're Melba's husband." Because I always got involved in everything that I could.
See, she was over to the school all the time, and I was working. So I never got to know anybody over at the school. I just became Melba's husband.
With everything, even in the steak.
Yep.
Because Mom was all over the steak. That's how we got to know everybody. That was so cool.
Even in the stake presidency, they'd say, "Oh, you're Melba's husband."
Goodness.
Oh, okay. Hey, oh, we're going.
Yeah.
No, we're practicing.
No, you're not.
Yes, we are practicing.
You are live and ready to go.
Okay.
Awesome.
I just gave you the mom voice. We are practicing. Well, we wanted to see how we all sounded with the microphones and stuff. So, welcome to our podcast, Life at 2030. We're so excited to have you back. And today we have John, as usual, who's our tech guy. He's my awesome husband. Dad is back for some more craziness. And we have Mom today joining us. I'm so excited for you to be here, Mom.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, goodness. I was born in American Fork, Utah, and last of 11 children. And there are 8 of us sisters and 3 brothers, and my 2 oldest brothers have since passed away. And I married my wonderful husband June 11th, 1974 in the Salt Lake Temple by
LeGrand Richards.
LeGrand Richards. And because our Uncle Claire knew him quite well, and so they asked for a favor, and so we got to be married by an apostle in the Salt Lake Temple, and I'm so grateful for that. And my faith goes along with my church. I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And I love the Lord, and I want to keep the commandments, and I want to do everything to help all my fellow men and fellow women. And we have 6 children, and right now we have 19 grandchildren, and 1 more on the way, which we are so thrilled for.
It could be twins. You never know.
Oh, I would love it if it was twins. We have twins in the family, and in fact, we have 3 sets of twins. We have 2 daughters, Sherry and Julie. Julie is the one that's the moderator here. And then we have 2 sets of twins already that are, our son Jeffrey his wife had a boy and a girl, and then Cliff and Dion had 2 boys. And anyway, but we love them all, everyone. And I'm a grandma and my mom, and I love life, and
I love your brief introduction. That's amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mom. So today we are obviously going to be talking about marriage. We're going to talk about what some of your favorite little stories and things that you guys have learned along the way, and we hope to glean some of your amazing advice. So tell our favorite part, like, how did you guys meet and all the fun with that?
Well, I worked at a Chevron service station, rebuilding engines, all kinds of stuff. It was fun working there, and one day this young lady came in a brown Plymouth, and she had her hair all done up. She was in a nurse's outfit, and they told me to go out and wait on this girl. So I went out and asked her what she needed, and she needed her tank filled up. So I filled it up, took about 85 cents if I remember, and I mentioned to her, I said, "Oh, I see you've got a sticker on the back of your car. Do you go to BYU?" And she said, "No, my brother did. I'm going to College of Medical and Dental Assistants. And I said, oh, and I said, well, I just got back from a mission. And she says, oh my.
I said, you did?
And so what happened after that is she came in almost every day and needed her car filled up with gas to the tune of 31 cents, 51 cents, 72 cents. And I finally asked her, why are you coming in? She says, well, my gas gauge doesn't work and I don't run out of gas. And I said, you could go for a whole week. I didn't know that I was the target at the time.
She couldn't go a week without seeing you.
Well, he was so cute. But even so, I was dating another man and he was dating another girl. And he never did get the hint that I liked him well enough that I would like to go out with him.
And she had 2 roommates and they just lived like 5 houses down from the service station. And her roommates' cars were terrible. They'd always call me up and say, I can't get my car started. So I'd go down and either their points needed to be adjusted or the fuel filter didn't work or the choke was stuck. So little beknownst to me, I'm just outside fixing the cars and Melba's hiding from me because she didn't want me to know that those were her roommates. So finally one day I came to the service station and I had forgot my books for college. I was going to Weber State. So I changed out of my uniform and I had to run back to the service station to get my books. And I was dressed up for school. Boots, Levi's, leather coat. And I walked in and she was there. And I said, hi. And she says, oh, you look good. And then she left. Before I could talk to her.
Well, I left because I looked at him and I thought, oh, he is so fine. He is out of my league.
And so I was intrigued because she left. So I called her later that evening.
Well, because he had my number. Tell how you got my phone number.
Oh, yeah. I was working on a car and I had grease up to my elbows. And I asked Gary to go out and wait on her and get her phone number. And he came in and he says, she said that if you want her phone number, you have to come out and get it.
And I said that because he was an old guy. I mean, that was old to me. I didn't want him to have my phone number too. I only wanted Paul to have my phone number.
So I came out with grease up to my elbows and I got her phone number. And that was several days before. That was a long time before.
You didn't call me at that point.
And it wasn't until I saw her and she left that I decided I better call her.
I'm glad you did.
I made a date with her and then I realized that I had a date that same night with another girl. So she said, sure, I'll go with you. So then I had to break that date so that we could go on our first date.
And I had to break a date to go too. I wasn't going to let the grass grow under my feet.
So we went to Larry Miller's basketball game at Layton High School.
Your cousin.
My cousin Larry Miller played for Bountiful High School. And so we took Grandpa Bishop in his wheelchair and Uncle Bill and Aunt Janny, and we all went to watch all Larry's basketball games. And we found that the cheerleaders at Bountiful High had the longest legs. That's what Uncle Bill said. The cheerleaders at Bountiful High have the longest legs.
Once he held my hand, I had already decided I would never let go. And I didn't.
So then you guys, how did you propose to her?
So we were.
You got to hear this. It's good.
Oh, sorry. Back up. Go on.
Go ahead. Say what?
No, it's you tell that part the best about where we went after and the grandpa and all that.
Oh, we were in the parking lot of.
No, the first date.
Oh, do you want the first date or how I proposed?
The first date.
Okay, we're going with her. Our first date after the basketball game. I don't remember where we went to eat. Did we go get pizza or?
Francesco.
We went to Francesco's, and an old girlfriend waited on us. We were good friends, but it was great pizza. And then we went to Uncle Bill's to meet Grandpa Bishop, and I'm talking to Uncle Bill and Aunt Jenny, and I think we were playing cards.
I don't remember.
And Melba was talking to Grandpa Bishop. And Grandpa Bishop motioned to her, and she leaned down, and he kissed her. And Aunt Jenny said, "Oh my, do you know what that means?" And I said, "No." She said, everyone who Grandpa Bishop had kissed had joined the family.
So like on the cheek, right? Okay.
So he kissed her on the cheek, and that solidified the fact that she was going to become in the family. And when everybody heard that Grandpa Bishop had kissed her, they said, "Oh, Paul, you're done." So I proposed to her in the parking lot at Weber State University on Valentine's Day. And I asked her if she would be my wife, and she said yes. Well, unbeknownst to me, I didn't know that I was supposed to have a ring. I just figured if you asked him, that was okay. So I went home and I told my sister that I had asked Melba to marry me, and she says, "Well, I didn't see the ring." And I said, "Well, I haven't got it yet." Chris said, "We are going to get her a ring right now." And I said, "Well, can't we wait till we're married?" And she says, "You don't understand."
See, you were taught right.
And I appreciated his sister because I didn't tell anyone in my family that I was engaged to be married until I had the ring.
So Chris and I went down to Zales Jewelry, and we picked out a nice ring. Back then, I think it was $500, which was a lot of money for a ring.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then we got engaged, and we waited and waited till her brother got home from his mission, but he kept putting it off. So finally I said, "No, we're going to get married."
Yeah, there was a need. So then you guys get married, and tell us
Right,
about
because
your
her father was worried about my biological urges anyways.
Exactly.
Better tell it.
I did.
Oh yeah, he did. He told it in the first episode about the biological urges.
That's right.
So then you get married, and tell us about your honeymoon, because you had some funny stuff happen.
My father said if we didn't have a reception, he'd give us $500. So we decided to take the $500. I was the youngest in the family, so it was okay not to have a reception. He was the first in his family, and the Bishop family had to have
I was okay being bought off.
at least an open house.
As a father, I would have appreciated my kid saying, "Give me $500, we'll be done." Okay.
Oh, so we had an open house anyway because his mother wanted one so bad, and we got a lot of really nice things, and then we had a honeymoon. But before that, people at the open house kept telling us that they were going to come and bother us during our honeymoon, and I didn't want them to do that, and I didn't want to spend any of that money on an expensive hotel either.
So I let her choose where we were going to spend our first night together. So when she tells me where we're going, we get there, and it's right across the street from our apartment. We can see our apartment from the window. And it's not even the honeymoon suite. It's like,
Oh no.
it's a corner room, and it's a waterbed. And the waterbed is so filled with water, it's bulging up top and out the sides. And we couldn't even, if we got on the bed, we couldn't stay on it.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
But it worked out.
And then the next
day, we decided to go to Lagoon, so we took my little brother Kenny and my cousin Steve Knott, and we went to Lagoon for our honeymoon. And then the next day and that night, Kenny stayed with us in our apartment.
Oh man.
So for us, life before marriage and life after was pretty much the same, except we were together 24 hours a day, and there were fringe benefits. of being married as opposed to not being married. And
Did she keep coming every day to get gas after you
No,
got married?
no, she quit.
Oh.
I had to give the car back to my dad.
So in your early marriage, you did have some adjustment and some really funny things that happened as well. So would you talk about that? So the syrup. You have to talk about the syrup.
Okay, well, one morning, was it a weekend? It must have been a weekend morning, Saturday or Sunday. Mom asked me if I'd like pancakes, and I said, sure. And she said, I'll make homemade syrup. So she got the syrup boiling on the stove, and then, because we were newlyweds, extracurricular activities occurred. And so by the time she got back to the syrup, it'd been boiling a while. So she put some pancakes on a plate with some butter, and then she poured the syrup on it. And we prayed, we blessed the food. And by the time I got to eat the pancakes, the syrup had hardened to the point of cement. I took a knife and I couldn't jab through the syrup. I couldn't break the syrup. I couldn't get a knife under the syrup to pry the syrup and the pancakes out. I beat on it with a knife. I could not even get to the pancakes. We couldn't get them off the plate. We had to throw the pancakes, the syrup, and the plate away.
And the pan.
And the pan.
And the pan. We couldn't get it out of the pan.
Oh my gosh.
So my advice for newlyweds is do your extracurricular activity and then go get something to eat.
There you go. And that's the best advice. And then you guys would pray together and learn how to do that as a couple.
I was so tired one night, and I was the one giving the prayer, and we were kneeling at the bed, and I was praying, and I fell asleep.
All of a sudden she stopped praying. And I looked and she was asleep. So I had to wake her up so we could finish the prayer and get in bed.
Wake up, it's time to go to sleep.
And I used to have a companion on my mission who one night he fell asleep on the side of his bed praying and knelt there all night.
Whoa.
And he could hardly walk the next morning.
So what were your early marriage goals when you guys discussed your family and how you wanted it to look like? How did you guys figure that out?
We wanted someone home all the time for their children that we wanted to have. And so if I didn't start work until our youngest Allison was a year old. And when I went to work, Dad was home. If Dad was home, then I could do extra jobs to help with our income. But one of us, we tried to always have someone home that was a parent.
And as far as I remember, you guys, one of you was always there.
Well, we made it a priority. That's why we bought the house that we could afford. So that we would live on my income while the children were being born and raised. And then Mom started a part-time job when Allison was young, but she didn't start till afternoon and only worked a few hours. And so someone was always there. We wanted our children to be able to come home from school and no matter what happened there, we could fix it.
And you did.
And so it was important. And it was a goal of ours to keep our children in the local schools. A lot of our friends would ship their kids to Title I schools and everywhere. And we said, look, we can't do that. If good kids don't stay in this school, the school will go bad.
Yep.
And so it was more important for us that our children grew up around people that lived in our neighborhood.
I like that. And then when Allison was struggling in school and they said that she wouldn't be able to learn, you guys did advocate for her and send her to a school that was a really good fit for her. And so you guys were very willing to do what we needed for our family, but also for the neighborhood. And that's awesome.
Well, Allison was a different story altogether. Because of her disabilities, she would have done well in any school.
Yeah.
It was the teachers that struggled with Allison.
Right. And we have a whole episode planned all around Allison's hilarious stories. So speaking of funny stories, I really, the ones that make me think about you two that make me laugh so much are Dad's work lunches. Mom would make Dad work lunch every day. I want to hear about this again.
Well, sometimes I was in a hurry, or I made a tuna sandwich, and because I didn't feel like opening another can of tuna and fixing it up, I just spread it on as thin as it would go, and then to make up for it, I sliced a big wedge of cheese to put on the sandwich. But I didn't want him gaining too much weight from it, so I didn't put much Miracle Whip on it. Now, Dad.
Well, I used to always carry a bunch of granola bars in my bag because a lot of times I had kids get on my bus who were hungry, who hadn't eaten breakfast, and I didn't want the poor little kids crying on my bus because they were hungry. So and lots of times I gave my lunch away because people were hungry. And one day the bus driver says, "What kind of sandwich?" I was talking to another driver, and he says, "What kind of sandwich is that?" I said, "It's tuna fish." Well, you couldn't see any tuna fish, but on one side of the sandwich was a huge, thick wedge of cheese that only went halfway through the sandwich. It was like the slice of cheese that a mouse would eat on cartoons. And I couldn't keep the bread together because there wasn't enough Miracle Whip on it to hold it together. And so he was laughing because I turned sandwich one way and you couldn't see anything in the middle. And the other way, and all you could see was a huge wedge of cheese. But I appreciated her making sandwiches for me and making lunch, and whether I gave it away or not, it was I always appreciated her making me a lunch.
And Mom, you taught me how to cut cheese that way too. John makes fun of me so bad cutting cheese like that, and I'm like, hey, I learned it from my amazing mom.
That's right.
So midway in your marriage, your entire marriage, there was crazy stuff that happened all along, and you guys have been laughing this entire time. There's some fun, speaking of food, Mom, the spaghetti sauce and the chili con carne, just you exploring new recipes and Rotel, and how did we react to those?
The chili con Campbell was the best. It was a kind of a chili with meat and beans, actually pork and beans, and then some chili powder. And I cooked that all day, and it smelled so good, and we were all so very hungry, and we sat around the table, and the first bite was fire. It was so hot, and we couldn't figure out what was wrong, and so I emptied the sauce out and put some more soup and more tomato sauce in it, and I put more cayenne pepper in, which I thought was chili powder.
And poor Jeff, he was 2.
And he would eat one bean at a time and then have a drink of water.
And then he said, Mom, put it in the freezer.
It's too hot!
It was cayenne pepper instead of chili powder. And then one day we had this most wonderful smelling spaghetti sauce. Had cooked it on the table, and then when we were ready to eat and we pulled the table out to set the table, the whole crock pot fell on the floor. And so we had to open some cans of spaghetti sauce to have with our spaghetti, and it was so sad.
I don't even remember that. That's funny. So, Dad, you get to talk about the balloon and the ghost.
Well, our house is kind of small. We have a 3-bedroom, 1-bathroom home, and it's suited us well. I mean, we're close. In this day and age, there's no way to social distance in my house. You can't come in the living room and get 6 feet from anything. So, and Mom and I were laying in bed one night, and someone had a birthday party, and there was a Mylar balloon in the living room, and we had a fan in our bedroom. And Mom and I both looked up about the same time, and this ghost came in our room, went around the room, and then went back out of the room. I'm like, whoa. And it was the Mylar balloon, we decided, had come in the room, floated through, and back out. And then one night we're laying in bed, And we hear something and we look, and this ghost comes in the room, grabs something out of the closet, and leaves. And I jump out of bed and I go, and everyone's asleep. There is no one out of their place. Cliff admitted the next day that he'd come in our room to get a blanket.
Oh, man.
He said he had just pretended that he was asleep, probably laughing in bed.
I bet that scared you, though, for a while. Your hearts were racing. What was that?
It's like, what was that?
And you've always had so much fun, too, like leaving Jeff behind everywhere on accident. Not you guys. Grandma and Grandpa left him behind when you had Allison.
Oh, no, we left him at the church.
And the church.
We all got home ready to eat. Where's Jeff? So I run back to the church, and Jeff's sitting on the back bench in the dark waiting for someone to come and get him.
Oh, bless his heart.
And then Grandma and Grandpa, when Allison was born, they all got in the car, and if you knew my mother, she only offered you a half a stick of gum. So she's offering everybody a half a stick of gum as they're headed to the hospital, and she said, Jeff, Jeff, Jeff! And they looked, and Jeff wasn't in the car.
We freaked out.
So they
All of
ran
us.
back to the house, and he was playing with the neighbor's lawnmower.
The push mower. He was pushing it. He had no idea we were even gone. Just this little 2-year-old. All right. So, guys, what is some of your advice on how you stay strong together? What's your focus?
One of the things that I love is a choice every day. Every day I choose to love my husband, and if I'm looking elsewhere, that's not going to be good. But I always choose every day to love him. And another one of my bits of advice is always turn to the Lord in your trials. In everything you do, in your happiness, in your sadness, in your trial, always go to the Lord. Let him know what's happening in your life, and he will bless you.
I love that. Any thoughts, Dad?
My advice is come follow me. And to marry a woman named Melba.
So what is...
You'll always be happy if you marry a woman named Melba. For us, my wife and I and Allison, we always have come follow me every day. We read the scriptures, we discuss it, and it's been a blessing for us because Allison's learning so much more about the scriptures. And we encourage our grandkids and our kids and everyone to do the same thing. And for us, it's about our family. And our family is the world. And we have a responsibility for our neighbors. And even though we still have crazy neighbors, it's our responsibility to love them and care for them. And
Absolutely. So how do you guys support each other, and how do you... Well, you already answered how you handle the hard and sad things. How do you support each other?
We're just there for each other and try to do things together and just love each other.
I try to tell her I love her at least 10 times a day. Well, more than that, I show her I love her. I support her in her church calling. We always have. Stake presidency or the bishopric doesn't have to ask us if we'll serve, because they know we will, and they know we'll support each other. And
you give her the debit card because she wants to go get fabric.
Right. I've learned that happy wife, happy life is true. And that's because you live in her nest. And you're just a visitor there. It's her nest. And you need to let her be happy there and feel safe.
So is that what it's like to be Melba's husband?
Yes, I'm Melba's husband. I've always been known as Melba's husband because I worked and she went to school, and I went and asked the principal where I think it was Jeff's mom was. He says, "Oh, you're Melba's husband." And so I've been known as Melba's husband even when I served in the stake presidency. People from the stake said, "Oh, you're Melba's husband." So it's been an honor to be Melba's husband.
Well, when he was the bishop, I tried to stay under the radar, and a lot of times people in the ward didn't even know that Dad was married. But I would stay under the radar, and Allison, she was always right out there. I'm the bishop's daughter. She was so cute.
Bless her heart. So, good question. Do you guys ever get mad at each other, and how do you handle that if you do? Oh, I love your face, Mom.
Well, let me tell you the advice that LeGrand Richards gave us. When we were married, LeGrand Richards says, I'm going to give you some advice. He says, if one of you get angry, go outside. Don't take it out on your spouse. And he says, I spent the first 40 years of my marriage on the front porch.
Oh, no.
And he says, don't ever go to bed angry. And so we don't.
I like that. That's good.
And
That's
we can
good
work
stuff.
it out. I know that look. And when I see that look, I know I'm in trouble.
You just go to the porch.
She doesn't need to tell me I'm in trouble. And the other thing, guys, I've learned. Listen. If she wants to talk about, when she tells us there's something wrong, us men are okay with it in about 30 seconds. I've learned that she needs to talk about it for 3 days. So that's okay. Mm-hmm. Listen for 3 days.
Or at least pretend you're listening.
See, she's learned. I can zone out. I can go to my happy place, my nothing box, and still look like I'm interested in what she's saying.
Well, and you let some things go by. You don't have to deal with every single thing. But when it comes to cleaning out a room so that your son-in-law can stay there for a month, you don't give up.
Just to be clear, we weren't fighting for a month. He switched jobs. Just letting you know.
And he said, we can't do this. And I said, we will do this. And then I walked out the door.
We're doing this, Paul. I'm leaving.
I didn't even tell him I was leaving.
So how does laughing help you guys?
It's everything.
If you can't, we don't laugh at each other, we laugh with each other. There's a big difference. If people feel like you're making fun of them, then that's bad.
Yeah.
My wife's learning Spanish right now, and it's hilarious to me. Because she said a long sentence the other day, and I didn't want to laugh, but it brought tears to my eyes because it was so bad. But
she was laughing too.
Right. And we were laughing together because she knew it was bad.
Dad, that's a perfect example too. You never treated us kids that way either. You and Mom. You didn't laugh at us. You would laugh with us. Even when I made you multicolored pants for the talent show, you still wore them and you didn't make fun of me.
They were beautiful pants.
They were terrible. I'm sorry I made you wear those. But even then, you guys tried so hard not to make us feel any less than we were, and I appreciate that.
At least you didn't make me the double-breasted suit.
So even when Dad was stuck on the slide, Mom was laughing and Dad was laughing.
No, she was laughing hysterically. She was laughing at me.
Can you tell us about that?
Well, I was up fixing the swing set, and I couldn't get back down, so I sat on the slide, and I thought, I'm just going to slide down this slide. And Allison started recording it, and I said, no, don't record it. So I went down the slide, but I couldn't get my feet down quick enough.
Oh, no.
So I butt planted on the ground. And she was laughing hysterically. Almost like everybody laughs when I throw up.
Oh, yeah, that too. When you can't brush your teeth without gagging.
I have a gag reflex that is horrendous.
And loud.
And loud. I wake up the neighbors.
And then our cute mom always does tricks. Dad's always watching. He always watches her because you just never know what she's gonna do.
You either have to watch her or Allison. Allison almost burned the house down.
So there were a couple things, just something that happened today with that little tractor watering thing, and then the skunk at the door, and then we'll wrap this up in a minute.
Oh yeah, I went to my back door one day and we were
Going to work.
going to work and the car was parked back there, and so I opened the door and there was a skunk on the step looking at me with the wrong end. And so I shut the door and I said, we better wait a minute. And we waited a few minutes and Mom saw the skunk running out the backyard, and so we went to the car.
I remember Mom saying it differently, right?
Well, he wouldn't tell me what it was. He said, I've got to shut the door, and he just shut the door. And then he told us how the skunk had gone to the garden, and I got home from work later that day, and I hardly dared look around the tomato plants in case there was a skunk.
That'd be so scary. And then, Dad, what happened today with that tractor watering thing?
Well, we planted some new seed in the front yard, so I have a
For grass.
so I have a tractor that I have to water it every morning. It's a tractor that runs along the hose, self-propelled. And for some reason, the tractor has a button on the bottom, and when it gets pressed, it shuts off. So I turned the water off, and I went and the tractor has two spinning arms on top. So I turned the tractor over, and one of the arms was actually down inside my shoe, and the other arm was facing away. And as I pulled the button out, I didn't realize that the water was going to come back on, the pressure in the hose. So it squirted clear out to my car, and it filled my shoe with water. So I learned a valuable lesson today about sprinklers.
And he didn't even tell me, or I would have been out there watching, and we would have laughed together.
You guys, when I was outlining this and thinking about you, I saw this quote that I have hanging up. It's from 2 Nephi 5:27, and it says, "And it came to pass that we lived in the manner of happiness." And that is you two. I love that about you guys. That's how you raised us. We lived in a very loud house, but a very happy house. And my last little bit is, where do you want your marriage to go from here? Do you have any other plans?
Well, she's going to retire in a few months, hopefully. It's up to her. And then when the temple's open, we'd like to be in good enough shape to go work. So, but with Allison, we have our special daughter Allison. We worry about her and what we can include her in.
We'll just bring her along.
We don't want to exclude her from anything, but...
Oh, I love that.
And we want, whatever it is we do, we want to do it together. That's where
And
it's
we
at.
love being in our grandkids' lives.
We love that too.
I mean, if I could have had grandkids first, I would have done.
Hey.
Because they're way fun.
So, in other words, you guys just plan on living in happiness. You just
Oh,
find
yeah.
the funny, find the story.
Well, things have changed since my parents passed away the last few months, and so I don't have that worry, and that is a worry.
Yeah.
So.
And they were funny too.
So
Grandma
now
was
I give the
hilarious.
worry to you guys.
Thank you. We'll take it. So the last thing I have is, what is one piece of your best advice to give to anyone and everyone?
Just choose each day to love each other. It's a choice.
Well, my best advice is to stay close to the Lord. He always has the best advice. He'll never lead you astray,
I love that.
and he won't laugh at you. He'll laugh with you.
That's true. I really think he does laugh with us. Mom, thanks for coming and being with us today. And John, thank you for doing your techie stuff. And Dad, thanks for all your stories as well. And we thank
We
you for
love all
listening.
you
it.
out. out. there.
We loved it, and we love you.
Okay, bye guys.
Bye.
Guys.
Bye.
Guys.